All right, just a couple of others. Listening, probably the key skill in communication. Okay, listening. Funny, we don't actually listen all that well, right? We don't listen because when we're having a conversation, we're actually formulating our response to whatever's being said to us before they're finished. So we stop listening. We're already thinking about what we're going to say back, okay? So we need to practice that bit. You might actually get a more informed response if you listen to what people are saying. And listen actively. Active listening. What's active listening? What do you do when you actively listen?
You actually listen.
Well, you actually listen.
Don't talk.
You don't talk. You actually show it. You show it.
Paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing, yeah. You say, let me get this right. You said such and such and such, yeah. Okay. You nod. Okay. You might even lean forward because you're listening intently. That's all active listening. All right. You're showing that you're listening. The other thing you might do is actually ask questions. Get beneath what's being said. Sometimes you've got to dig a little more. People don't always come out with exactly what they're thinking, particularly those stakeholders. You know, if they've got those different agendas and so forth, different interests, you need to ask some questions. Drill down. Okay? These are communication skills, human skills that will help you. So how you negotiate with stakeholders underpins the success or failure of your project. That's what PMI's report found. All right? And your human skills then underpin your negotiations. So whilst we might concentrate on the process of negotiation, which we'll have a quick look at, it's actually the human skills that underpin the success of it. All right, how to get to win-win. I think these guys won. They look pretty happy. So in the context of projects, a stakeholder, as you know, they could be a supporter. They could be supporting what you're doing. They could be sitting on the fence, waiting to see what everyone else is going to do. Or they could be against you. Could be an opponent. You have those sort of stakeholders? Yeah? Now, if you need their support, they'll give it to you when they see benefit. All right? That's possibly why they're holding back. Negotiation is the process where the people involved on creating a deal work on creating a deal that is mutually beneficial. Okay? So negotiation is finding something that is mutually beneficial. That's when you'll get the agreement. All right? That's how your stakeholders become partners to you. That's how you'll get things done. Ability to negotiate problems or objections is the most effective way to create value. What you'll find is when you're negotiating, you're actually problem solving. Right? You're working through any challenges, objections. That's problem solving to get through. All right? But you've got to find what's mutually beneficial in doing that. If you want to look at it purely from a structure perspective, there's 3 phases to negotiating. You open it, you have a bargaining, which is what is the main part, what people know as negotiating really, and then you have to close it off. Okay? Come to an agreement. When you open it, we said this one before, you have to create an atmosphere of respect. Okay, if you want to do a deal of some sort, you have to set a positive tone, project that image of self-confidence. Okay, they want to trust you. Okay, and don't rush right in, what we said before. That's the opening part. That's how you build the rapport, okay, to your negotiation. At the start of the negotiation, just something to remember, you don't want to get right into the details at the start, all right? Because you may be walking through some difficult things, okay, some challenges where you don't actually agree at the moment, all right? As a result, don't go right into that detail. Start a little bit higher. As you get further in, that's where you're going to bargain. That's the bargaining bit, all right? So bargaining. Most negotiations are not as successful because people tend to argue about positions rather than interests. Now, that little graphic up there, there's a couple of sporting organisations that are having some trouble at the moment in negotiation. For those who follow sport, the Australian cricket situation and even the NRL, both are having the same sort of problem. All right? I mean, I'm not privy to what's going on in there, but I would suggest there's some position focus rather than what are the interests, because they might find they actually have common interests and they'll make progress that way. So what we're saying is, you know, if I stick to no, that's my position, that's it, I'm not budging. If you go into a negotiation like that, you're going to have some problems, okay? Because you need to consider what can we get out of the negotiation that will further our interests. What are our interests? What are we trying to do here? What's going to be a benefit to both of us? All right? Mutual gain. It's about mutual gain in negotiation. The key to making the mutual gain approach work is to focus on the interests, not positions. We just said that. So the answer is most often compromising. As I said, you can't just stand firm and say, that's it, I'm not budging from this position going in. All right? If you're not prepared to compromise, you're already setting yourself up for some great difficulty in getting agreement. All right? It's a compromise. That's why we bargain. That's why we have this, you know, 2 broccoli, 3 carrot thing. Yeah? Allows both parties to get something of what they want without either side having to give up too much. That's what you need to discuss. Other things you might consider if you want to get a win-win. Now, a win-win, we're saying, with the stakeholder, with the partner, whatever it is, you're setting yourselves up, both are happy with the end result. So they'll commit to doing things. Look at expanding the pie. Sometimes the pie can't be expanded. It's a fixed pie, but where it can be expanded, look at how we can make it bigger, okay, if that's of interest. Identify your shared values. If you can connect with the values of the other party, that's a great force for them to commit to something. Okay? Create options that will meet interests. Can you change the scope of the negotiation? Bring something else into it that hadn't been considered before. And identify issues that can be set aside. So what we're saying is, if you hit a stumbling block, okay, maybe you just need to park that one. Come back for a later meeting about the stumbling blocks. Try and get agreement. The more agreement you can get, the more rapport you build, the more partnership you grow. Sometimes your stakeholders will hit you with some difficult questions, okay? Sometimes a question could be a little bit irrelevant. Maybe they've got some agenda behind. If they hit you with a question you think that's got nothing to do with it, okay? Don't blurt out that's got nothing to do with it, okay? What you might suggest is the question is irrelevant, but you'll do it in a friendly way. Like, sorry, can you just explain to me how does that relate? All right, that doesn't insult them then, okay? If you don't know the answer to the question, say you don't know, but I'll find out. Okay? Sometimes a good technique when you don't know the answer, perhaps you should, but you don't, all right, is to say, that's a good question. All right? We'll have to have a look at that one. Okay? And you'll find most people are quite happy that you've acknowledged their intelligence to come up with a good question. Yeah. Say that you would like to wait to respond to the question until later in the negotiation. That's the one where they're heading straight into something sensitive or key and you're not ready to get it down to that level. You can just say, look, can we get to that one? All right, well, if you don't mind, I'll get to that one very shortly. And sometimes you can reply with a question of your own. Remember that the drilling down bit. Okay, you might come back with a question to find out what's the intent of the question you've just asked.
As opposed to deflection.
As opposed to deflection, yes. Yes, exactly. So sometimes people will ask you a question, they have some other agenda behind, so you're trying to understand where they're coming from. All right, so these are ways of dealing with the difficult ones. We get to closing. Building agreement at the end. So what you've got to take now is what you've generally agreed on and make it specific. Okay, because often this ends up in a contract. You know, if you're dealing with an external stakeholder, this ends up in a contract. So you've got to get it to specifics. You can't have general stuff in the contract. All right? The bargaining's over, and the agreement should be based on a fair and accurate interpretation or consensus of the parties. And that's what you're saying. You'll restate the things that you've agreed on in specific terms to make sure that everybody's on the same page. That's the closing bit. All right, and to close this presentation, I'm going to show you an example negotiation. I think a lot of you will have seen this. This is another movie. You didn't know you were going to the cinema today, did you? Have a look at this negotiation.
Excuse me. I'm blood. Jack! It's not possible. No trouble. Where's Elizabeth? She's safe, just like I promised. She's all set to marry Norrington, just like she promised. And you get to die for her, just like you promised. So we're all men of our word, really. Except for Elizabeth, who is, in fact, a woman. Shut up! You're next! You don't want to be doing that, mate.
No, I really think I do.
Your funeral.
Why don't I want to be doing it?
Well, because the HMS Dauntless, pride of the Royal Navy, is floating just offshore, waiting for you. Just hear me out, mate. You order your men to row out to the Dauntless, they do what they do best. Robert's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. There you are with two ships. The makings of your very own fleet. Of course, you'll take the grandest as your flagship, and who's to argue? Out of the bow. Name me captain. I'll sail under your colors. I'll give you 10% of me plunder, and you get to introduce yourself as Commodore Barbosa. Savvy?
I suppose in exchange you want me not to kill the whelp.
No. It's all by all means. Kill the whelp. Just not yet. Wait to lift the curse until the opportune moment. For instance, after you killed Norrington's men, every last one.
You've been planning this from the beginning. Ever since you learned my name. Yeah.
I want 50% of your plunder.
15.
40.
25. I'll buy that. A really big one. Commodore. We have an accord. All hands to the boats. Apologies. You give the orders. Chance. Take a walk.
you very much. We'll take the questions. Mhm.
How much do you reckon that, of all that, you reckon you can teach people as opposed to it's part of
What's innate?
it's an act?
Yeah. That's a good question.
It's one of the challenges, isn't it?
It is,
Some of the stuff you've
because
got
some of it is innate, yes.
evolved.
Yes. But as I said, other skills, it's like, you know, I would have liked to have played cricket for Australia, but I didn't have that level of skill. Okay? But that doesn't mean I can't become a better cricketer. Okay? The best I can be. So people can still work at those skills. Absolutely. Yeah.
What would you do, Tony?
If I was doing what?
If you, okay, so if you're,
Is this a
if you, so you had not the highest EQ, how would you negotiate? How would you, what
If I
approach
didn't
would you
have the
take?
highest IQ.
If you're
Thank you.
EQ,
Yeah.
how would you leverage what you had or the resources around you to accomplish an outcome?
Oh, I don't know, my immediate answer to that would be is openness and just transparency. Say the way it is. I'm not here to hide anything, this is the way it is. Don't be pretentious, just,
Builds trust then.
and that builds trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll either like it or they won't. And if they don't, well then you kind of know where you stand.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And that kind of building trust is over a long term. You can't destroy your trust all through your life and then be at the negotiation table every day.
Yeah.
Because it just fall apart. So I think the main thing is to build your reputation as a trustable person all along and be in a position where when you are in a position where you want to need to negotiate, the other person already knows where you're coming from.
You already got a head start there. Yeah.
But the good thing is that it's never too late to start.
And
Even if you don't have that relationship at that moment, start today to start building that relationship to get to a point where you can have that negotiation.
And then I think practice makes perfect. I think that's one of the things that comes out of this. That every opportunity you get to negotiate is a good opportunity to hone your skills in negotiation. Even the smallest opportunity, night markets, what we call the food court, whatever, wherever you can negotiate opportunities.
I mean, to come back to the question you raised, and this is in combination with the question you asked me, if you've got someone that's not their strong skill, okay, and that might be a personality thing, so it is innate in that case, it's how they're wired, all right? If you recognise that, then you can add somebody who complements that skill to your team, yeah, and you're working as a team in that regard, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you can negotiate everything? I have a lot of bosses lately, so.
Yeah, right, yeah. I'm yet to see every negotiation. I don't think so at the moment. I don't think so, but not everyone's going to come to the table with the same open, negotiation. They may have, if they're fixed, well, you're going to have problems. Yeah. Yep.
Why don't you have the bosses?
That's what came today. Look, I think some things maybe a little bit black and white. Like if it's a rule, it's a rule. We've just got to follow it. So maybe I'm arguing between the rules. I think we can do that. That's probably a good thing. Not sure.
That's a good insight yourself. You're saying a rule's a rule. Now, somebody may interpret that as a fixed thing. If they don't agree with that rule, just understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Is there a way to perhaps get around that?
Would you have an extra tip that you could say to if you're negotiating with a stakeholder that has already made up his mind and is close to any other suggestion?
Yeah. Then it's no longer a negotiation, is it?
It's much more negotiation.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's getting into the area of, is there someone who can then negotiate with that person? Someone who who they hold, respect for. In other words, you're influencing the influencer to do that. It could be that you don't have that rapport with that person. Sometimes you just got to go and you don't even know the person. So it might be better to go through somebody else then. Yeah.
The other thing could be facts and evidence based.
Yeah.
If they're holding their ground but you know that it's not right,
Yeah.
find out how you can validate that it's not right and bring them to the table that way.
Yeah, so this is, we talk about finding out what's driving their thinking.
Yeah.
What do they think that is causing them to behave in that way? Yeah. A lot of it is putting yourself in their shoes. We come with our own, whatever's in our head, but the key is to think of it from their perspective. What are they thinking? Why are they thinking that way? Get to that information. Yeah.
Or the other way around would be presenting various options to them, which could connect to what they want. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mutual gain. Yep.
Or pitch to their benefits.
Pitch to the benefits. It's selling. It's what you're doing.
But you should know your end game where you want to get to.
Yeah.
You want your options to land to fall in place to get to your preferred outcome.
That's right.
Not just open slather. So you need a plan.
You'll end up somewhere else. Otherwise. Yeah. All right, sorry, one at the back.
Steve, I was going to say, I think one of the important things as well in the negotiation side is not forgetting to actually ask for what you want, because otherwise it's not a negotiation anymore.
Yep.
Laying your cards out on the table, knowing exactly what you want, and then asking for it. It's the only way you're going to know whether you're going to get it or not, and then being able then to negotiate back to an area where you're both comfortable.
Yeah. And that links into, once again, how you ask for that is another thing. Is it a demand you're making, or are you asking? Because if you ask, then you'll get that negotiation aspect. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thoughts?
How much of negotiation is actually problem solving? Is actually problem solving rather than negotiation? Because very rarely are you ever involved in a negotiation that's a night market style negotiation where it's 10, 20, 30, 50, 20. It's always, how do we fix this problem together?
Yeah.
So how much of it is problem solving versus how much of it is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50? And what do you see as the more valuable skill set?
Well, I think I said during it, that's what you actually do. When you're doing your bargaining aspect, you're going to hit some points where there's a problem. You might not agree on something. So quite a lot of it is problem solving. Okay? Because of those obstacles, things that are in the way of you agreeing on something. So you're going to look at, every time you hit a roadblock, you've got to problem solve together around it. But it's in the context of you then bargaining over things. So if we can solve this one, then you might solve this one my way. That sort of thing starts to happen. Yeah, but there's a lot of it. Yeah.
Any other questions? I'd like to thank Steve very much for coming and sharing his insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.